Hello, everybody. Curious Corduroy here, and you are listening to the Save Data Podcast. And today I am joined by ImpulseParadox.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be back.
And we're testing out Zoom. So you should be seeing some Killer Instinct footage. Impulse has a lobby up, which he is in, so he'll jump in from time to time. But we're testing out Zoom, and I very much like this way more than what we were doing before. Because what I was doing before was a pain in the ass. I had so many things to juggle. It was a nightmare.
Yeah, Zoom was really easy for me to set up. I didn't have to change anything, and your audio sounds really good. So far, so good.
All right. So our first topic we had, I did cover this in a video previously, but it was announced that E3 for this year has officially been canceled. Originally, it was going to be a digital event, but then that got canceled as well. So they're moving it to next year, which who knows if it's even going to occur next year. So I wanted to get your thoughts on what you thought about E3 being canceled.
Honestly, I'm pretty split down the middle. I'm definitely in the camp of it was something I grew up with, and it was to a point where I would take off work, just to make sure I could watch it. But yeah, man, as I got older, I don't want to say I didn't care about it, but like the epicness of it definitely started to wane a little bit as I got older. I don't know about you.
Yeah, because it seems like E3 became like an E3 season, and it wasn't just about the show itself. They had, other companies putting on their own shows around that same time. And I don't remember what year it was when big companies just decided to stop doing press conferences at E3 and doing their own thing. I think Nintendo might have been the first one to do that, right?
Yeah, I think Nintendo and their like Nintendo Treehouse was definitely the one that started that, doing their own thing, but
Mm,
during that same week.
yeah. I It's funny because with no E3 this year, we're still technically in E3 season, or it's going to be E3 season because of it's just that time of year when that stuff happens. And all the big companies, they're going to do something. Nintendo's probably going to do something. Sony will have a state of play. Uh, I don't know what Microsoft's going to do. Maybe like another weird showcase kind of thing.
Yeah, what they need to do is update this operating system because no excuse for it to still be as bad as it is.
Yeah, we can
But
get into that real quick after the E3 thing, but I think the last thing I'll say about E3 is it's pretty much turned into like Jeff Keighley's thing now with Summer Games Fest. It's kind of like his season. Because that runs throughout the entirety of summer, right?
um yeah, I remember last year or the year before, maybe it definitely ran for a while. So I
Hmm.
don't remember how long, but yeah, definitely longer than E3 for sure.
Yeah, and I just see that you're in the lobby now. You're fighting.
Yeah, I'm fighting this golden statue TJ combo.
Yeah, because with E3, it just lasts for the course of a week. But even if E3 goes away, it's going to be a bummer because that was like a bucket list thing for me was being able to attend an E3 one day. Um, Even though it sounds a lot nicer than it probably is, thinking about going to show floors and being surrounded by thousands of people, sweaty people, and waiting in line like 5 hours just to play a demo for something doesn't sound fun. But the idea of it, I guess I romanticized a lot as a kid. But I think it's always going to be there. We're always going to refer to it as E3 season, no matter what.
I was just about to say, so are you saying you think that it's like done for good and we're just not gonna see it ever again?
I think so. The people who have been handling E3, the ESA, they've not been doing a good job these past couple of years. They're losing people left and right in terms of, partners to attend the show. And they clearly didn't even know what they were going to do this year. And then they had to scrap everything. So if it does get canceled, like for reals, I think it's a possibility next year we might not have E3 anymore. So that's something that we'll all get used to. But that time of year will always be E3 season.
Yeah, for sure. And like you
And
said, there's plenty of streamers and
yeah,
people like
mhm,
Jeff Cayley that'll make sure it will continue to go.
in some shape or form. But before we get to the next topic, I did want to ask you about Series X because you actually got one recently. Do you want to go through your harrowing events that you went through just to get an Xbox? Because it was kind of a roller coaster, right?
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation, when I got my PlayStation, Target actually came through for me, and I thought they was about to hook me up again this time. My order went through, and then about 2 hours later, it was canceled. Then I checked a couple hours later on Amazon, and there they were. It came all the way from Canada, but I
Jeez.
managed to get one. And yeah, it's an Xbox, man. It looks exactly the same as the old Xbox. I mean, like user interface wise.
Mhm.
Um,
That was a big thing for me because when I turned on the PlayStation 5 for the first time and you get that special intro that plays once and then you boot into like the new menu, that felt like a new experience. But I know you mentioned on Discord that turning on the Series X just feels like kind of like turning on like a regular Xbox, right?
yeah, it's got a different logo, at the start, but
Mhm.
once you get to the home screen, yeah, it's exactly the same as the One X, and as far as I'm aware, like even like the base Xbox, and it's still got the same issues, applications crashing, things slowing down. It's embarrassing, man.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I get why they're not changing things too much because they want to kind of keep it streamlined from Xbox One to Series X and S and make it like yeah, just like a more streamlined experience without changing it up too much. But like part of getting a new console that is so much fun is getting that new experience and that new interface. So that's kind of a bummer for me.
Yeah, I mean, as of right now, it's really still hard to recommend this console. I
Because you
haven't
said,
done I haven't done I've had it for just about 2 weeks now, and I haven't done anything on here that I can't have done anywhere else. And the
because I
thing is
know,
that I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Oh, just the last thing I was gonna say, the one thing that I have experienced that you can't do anywhere else is the quick resume, which
Mhm. Oh yeah, talk about the quick resume.
the the only impressive thing about it is even after you fully shut down the console, your game will still be in quick resume, which
Mhm.
has been really nice because I've been playing Dragon Quest 11, so I don't have to get to a save point. I can just turn the console off and turn it back on, and that's usually good to go. If you're playing anything that requires an online connection or something that uses an autosave feature like Elden Ring, something that autosaves like all the time, or a sports game, if you go on quick resume and come back, either you lost connection to the servers, which means you can't autosave, so you lose a couple hours of gameplay that way.
Mhm.
Or, for example, MLB The Show, I tried the quick resume with that. I didn't mean to try it, but I went back to it and saw that quick resume was activated and lost, I think it was 3 games. It was still minor league, so it wasn't, a big deal. But I could only imagine that happening, in the future and it actually being an issue.
Yeah,
I don't have much positive to say about quick resume.
I do remember it was a big feature they were touting, and I think Digital Foundry might have been the ones who actually really tested it, and they even ran into some issues with it.
Yeah, I still prefer to just shut the game down completely. I think that's the
Mhm.
way to go. Maybe they'll update it in the future, but right now, pass.
Yeah, I use my rest mode a lot on my PS5. It's just super easy, but the system and the games boot up fast enough that it's not really even necessary to do so. You're fighting Riptor right now. I got distracted by his outfit.
Yeah, he's beautiful. The two people I fought before weren't super great, but this Riptor seems to be a little better.
Okay. You'll have to try your best to answer the next question on the next topic. So I did want to bring up Sifu. We both played it. Have you finished it?
Yeah, I have multiple
Okay.
times.
I didn't. I struggled. But that's actually why I wanted to talk about it because there's a podcast that I do listen to from time to time, and I won't call them out or anything because I'm not trying to start any beef, but they're normally a really like positive, jolly group of guys. But when this information came out that Sifu was going to get extra difficulty modes, easier and harder, they got kind of mad. And their basic tone was this game should not get an easy mode. You need to practice, you need to keep playing, you need to essentially, I think at one point they even just said you need to get good at the game. And it kind of felt like a bit of a gatekeeping mentality to me, because I feel like accessibility and difficulty options are kind of bleeding together these days. I don't know if you feel that way.
Yeah. Wow, I got distracted by that rage quit. I'm so sorry.
I just
I
noticed
knew
that
this
the
was a
lobby.
bad,
It's
bruh.
all right.
Can we edit that? Can you re-ask the question?
You can just keep going. It's fine. But my
Okay.
question was like overall, like, how do you feel about Sifu getting in easy mode and a hard mode? Um, are you fine with that?
So I'm actually, unfortunately, I don't know if I'm in the camp of I don't want it to be a thing or I don't think it should be a thing.
Mhm.
But the way I'll just try to explain my mindset. The way I see it is the norm for video games is to have a difficulty selection, easy, normal, hard, usually. Normally, when you start a game, obviously, it'll give you those options and it'll tell you, what it entails. Like it'll say
Mhm.
it gives them more health or you'll take more damage or whatever. So I do think it's very special when a game comes out that's like Sifu or
Mhm.
Sekiro or Elden Ring that breaks away from that norm and actually demands more than, the normal game. And yeah, I feel like when you have a game like Sifu, I feel like the difficulty of the game is like that's the whole point. You're supposed to feel like a karate master, and as you get better, you feel it and it feels good.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying, and again, I'm not saying that it shouldn't have a difficulty slider. I'm just saying I just think that kind of defeats the purpose in my opinion.
Because
I don't know.
I did go on Reddit and I saw a lot of people saying that they were upset it was getting an easy mode because that somehow invalidates their playthrough that they experienced with
No,
the game, which,
I don't agree with that whatsoever.
yeah, that was weird to me because a game getting separate modes, it's like you don't have to use those modes if you don't want to. And if somebody does want to play on an easier mode, maybe because they, you know, um, have physical issues or they just don't want to get their ass kicked, that should be an option. And it's not going to take away from your experience. And some people even went as far as to say, like, okay, well, if you're going to have an easy mode, then you should disable trophies for the game. And it's like,
Yeah,
I,
that's doing too much too.
yeah, it's like I don't think it hurts to have options, you know, because I really struggled with the game. I made it to level 3 and I never played again because Forbidden West came out and I really wanted to play that. But I think my issue is more with Sifu is that it's trying to be two different things. It's a really difficult, punishing experience while also trying to be somewhat of a roguelike. And I feel like it needs to be one or the other, personally, because it is very, in my opinion, um, frustrating when you die so much and then you're sent back to the beginning and you lose everything unless you unlocked it permanently. That's a real pain in the ass. And I know a lot of people were comparing it to like Dark Souls or Elden Ring. They're like, well, that happens in Dark Souls. I'm like, imagine in Dark Souls if when you die, you get that opportunity to recover your stuff. And if you don't recover your stuff, you lose all those souls or whatever. Now imagine if you lose your souls, but you also get set to level 1, all your armor and your gear is now gone, and you're kicked back to the beginning of the game. That would be pretty brutal, right?
Yeah, and I mean that to be fair, that's kind of how Souls was up until Elden Ring.
But you never lost everything permanently except your souls, you know? I'm just saying, imagine if
Yeah,
you
yeah,
lost
fair.
everything. And that's what Sifu is to me. So I would prefer almost if Sifu was just punishingly difficult without the roguelike elements. Because the more I played Sifu, the more I realized I don't like roguelike elements in video games because it kind of it creates a bit of a grind for me, you know?
For sure. And yeah, like even like talking like that would also like go into like the length of the game, I suppose, considering it's only 5 levels. They
Mhm.
definitely expect you to play the game like over and over and over. I think even after you've like mastered it, you know, they could still kind of expect you to keep playing. And yeah, that's definitely what roguelikes are, like Hades and Dead Cells. But I mean, yeah, again, my only issue with Sifu was really the camera would definitely get in the
Oh my
way
God.
sometimes.
Tell me if
Um,
this happened to you. Was there ever a time where you couldn't see yourself and then you got smacked by 3 different enemies and you fell to the ground and died?
yeah,
Yep.
stage 3, that would definitely happen. Um, if there's a lot of enemies, I feel like, you know, separating the enemies is a game in and of itself, but
Mhm.
then the camera can definitely be an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, as in like invalidating people's playthroughs, no, I think that's a very personal ego sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
It's that elitist attitude that I think some people have with games like that.
yeah, I just personally really like horror games and you know shit like Doom Eternal.
Mm.
Of course, I you start it up and you just go straight to Nightmare because I don't know, it's just some games I just feel like are just meant to be they're just meant to be challenging and again, I just don't think those games are they're not the norm. So when we get something
Mm.
like Sifu, it's special. And personally, I don't want to see it change, but it's not going to change the fact that I got good as fuck at that game. So it
Yeah.
just means that more people are going to get to enjoy it, which is obviously a good thing.
Yeah. More options is never a bad thing.
Agreed.
So the next topic is probably going to be super short. I did a video on it and nobody watched it, and that's Kingdom Hearts 4. That got announced over past weekend, and from what I understand, it is on Unreal Engine 4, but they are going to transition it to Unreal 5.
What does that even mean? So are you
The-
saying that they've started development and they're just gonna are they
yeah,
gonna
well,
are they just transferring assets? Are they starting over? I don't know what that means.
from my understanding, the way Unreal Engine 5 works is it's supposed to make your project from 4 transition to 5 very easily in terms of the assets you're using. I'm not a developer, so obviously I don't know. All I know is that it's supposed to be much easier. So I'm assuming they're in the very early stages still of making this game. So it's not much to have to put over to a new engine. Um, but I know in the trailer they did say magic in the making, which is basically the in development now thing.
Right.
But I really want to be excited, but like you and I were talking about this before we were recording, Kingdom Hearts 3 disappointed a lot of people. And as I was playing through it, I was trying so hard to feel excited and to make myself get excited, but I just couldn't. And I think it was honestly the lack of Final Fantasy characters that did it for me. But also, a lot of the Disney worlds you visit in Kingdom Hearts 3, I felt detached from because I hadn't watched those movies. It kind of felt like those were Disney movies that were after my time, you know? So, like, what were your overall thoughts on Kingdom Hearts 3? Because I did get the DLC and play that, but I don't know if you did.
I did play the DLC and I played it with the same exact mindset I played the base game. I
Mhm.
I completely turned my brain off.
Yeah.
I didn't skip the cutscenes, but the story being told in the cutscenes are so ridiculous that I didn't even
It's very complicated.
yeah.
Convoluted. Convoluted is the better word for it. That's something that Nomura is very known for. But
The gameplay definitely held it together, but I mean, at the end of the day, you're still just pressing the X button the whole
mhm.
time and occasionally pressing triangle. I thought the game was very easy, very, very easy.
Yeah, I thought the combat wasn't as fun. I think Kingdom Hearts 2 has the best combat. That one felt really fun and snappy, and it felt like there was so many things that you could connect from one combo to the other. And it's like you said in 3, it's basically wait for triangle to appear, and then you have this gigantic like roller coaster seesaw attraction that shows up and wipes everything out.
Hell yeah, that shit's awesome watching it the first couple times, but you just see it so much and it just kills everything. And in three, I feel like when you're hitting enemies, they feel like marshmallows.
Yep.
But in the second game, especially the first game, when you hit enemies, you feel that shit. And the second one, I thought, the impact on the combat was really good, especially when you have enemies in the air.
Mhm.
But on three, yeah, I just felt like it's very floaty. I didn't feel like it was very tight.
Also,
Just felt like you're hitting marshmallows, like I said.
I didn't realize until towards the end of the DLC that you could switch between the attractions. You didn't have to use the one that it gave you.
Oh
So
geez, I knew
there,
that, but it don't
yeah,
change the fact that you still be seeing the same ones over and over and
yeah.
over.
So I would literally either let the timer expire so the next one would show up, or I would just spam the one they gave me. I didn't realize I could switch those towards the very end. So I felt kind of dumb for that. But there are people hoping and speculating that we will see Star Wars, which apparently there might be some Star Wars in the trailer based on one of the forest shots they've shown. And it looks like, I guess R2D2's foot is in the corner or something like that. But I hope we get some
That would
Star
be
Wars.
cool, man.
Like, yeah, like give me a lightsaber keyblade, give me some Marvel MCU, but I just mostly want them to bring back Final Fantasy characters because that's what Kingdom Hearts was. It was Disney Final Fantasy. And
And
their
Final
absence,
Fantasy is hot as ever right now.
yeah, their absence from 3 was so deflating. Like, other than the DLC, they have a mention of Cloud and Orin and a 5-second cutscene, and that's it. And I'm like, come on, man, there's such a big element to these games, and to not have them felt it, it took away from the experience for me. But is there anything in particular that you want to see other than improved combat in number 4?
I would say a I would say a better story, but
Yeah.
come on. Um, I don't know. Yeah, just better combat. I honestly don't mind what worlds we go to. I just hope that whatever worlds we go to are more engaging than they were on three.
Mhm.
Cause right as I finished three, I could barely tell you what I had just played. So
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
I was so lost in that story because I didn't play any of the spin-offs. So I remember there's like a key moment in number 3 when you're in the graveyard battle and you're getting help from this special character. I'm like, oh my God, who's this character going to be? Is it going to be like a Final Fantasy character or somebody from the first 2 games? And the dude literally turns around and looks at Sora and says something like, looks like you could use some help. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, man. I am so lost right now. So I hope they simplify the story in number 4 and start fresh, but I know they won't. So that's a bit of a bummer.
Yeah, I played the original three. I don't plan on playing the other handheld games.
Nope.
I'm sure I'll play four when it comes out, but yeah, I hope it's good, man.
Yeah. And our next topic, your favorite, see if you can talk about this while also fighting someone. The House of the Dead remake hit Nintendo Switch. It's been about what, a week since it's released?
Yeah, just over a week. So yeah,
And it performs like but there
it sure
was
does.
a rumor that was basically fact now that it will eventually come to PlayStation 4. I guess the game itself was added on the back end of the PlayStation Store. So eventually it will hit PS4. Hopefully it hits PC and we can get some really cool mods for the game, like OG music. But I watched Maximilian play through the game a little bit. I've watched other people's reviews. What I've seen, I'm not impressed by, but I wanted to get your opinion since you've actually played it. What are your overall thoughts? First of all, okay, I'm sure your list of pros is much shorter than the cons, so go ahead and start with the things you did like.
Um, I like that is I like the difficulty, but I'll come back to that. I like that the voice acting is still silly.
Mhm.
Um, I think the bosses look pretty cool. I thought that the way that they've all been upgraded in ways that I like.
Mhm.
Um, and I like the amount of control options that they give you. And I like that it was only $20. The game is $25, but it came out on sale for $19.99. I like that too.
Did you see how much the physical version costs?
Yeah, it's $40 physical.
Yeah, that's a ripoff.
Yeah, it sure is. And
So,
yeah, that's all I have good to say about that
yeah.
fucking game.
So I do want to hear your negatives because we're both like I'd say we're both House of the Dead fans. Like we grew up playing those games a lot.
Dude, we're veterans at that shit. We've
Yeah.
been quoting that game since it came out.
Yeah, like
Over 10 years we've been.
but like how often do we play online and you just go, help me? You
Right.
know? Um I wanted to like this game so much based on what I saw, but like even if I had a Switch, I wouldn't buy it. But I just want to hear your negatives overall because yours isn't just you're not just shitting on the game. You have genuine issues with the game that I think as a House of the Dead fan, we all feel and we would expect certain things to be in the game that aren't. But I'll let you talk. I'll let you get to it.
Yeah, I want to start off with the controls. It's hilarious and baffling and impressive how many options they managed to give you, but every single one of them is ass. You can play with just the analog, which I think definitely kind of ruins the whole point of playing a rail shooter.
Yeah, it
When
feels
you're
weird.
holding it, if you're holding a Joy-Con and it has the gyro, that's what you're expecting to use.
Mhm.
But when you're using that, you are literally just pressing the Y button over and over and over because you need to readjust the crosshair to make it, recenter.
Yeah.
Because if you just move it a little bit to the right, it's gonna fly to the fucking right. If you just move it a little bit to the left, you don't know what it's gonna do. It might end up at the top of the screen for all we know, dude. It doesn't make any sense. Anybody testing it, I would have been like, nah, man, this ain't all right. And the one option they give you, which is kind of cool, is basically a combination of the both or both of the options. You can use the analog, but the analog will make the crosshair move really slow, but you
Oh
still
wow.
aim with the gyro, so you can like fine tune it, But things are moving so fast that it's it's a pointless option.
Mhm.
And the physics, sometimes you can't tell when a zombie is actually dead. Sometimes the zombie won't even have a head and the zombie will actually be dead, but the zombie will still walk up and manage to hit you, and then nigga,
Because
it
that
don't
was
make
like
no
a
sense.
yeah, because that was like a big no-no in the original games, right? Was you can't be hit off screen. And if you clearly like blast a zombie's head or arm off, they shouldn't be able to hurt you. But it kind of seems like they just said screw it in the remake.
Yeah. And like especially in House of the Dead too, it's like when you shoot a zombie, you know what is gonna happen if you shoot a certain zombie in the arm, you
Mhm.
know what it's gonna look like. If you shoot them like in the shoulder, you know that shoulder chunk is gonna come off. Sometimes if you shoot them in the face, sometimes only a part of their face will fall off. Like you kind
Yeah.
of know. But again, when you take away that and you just have a physics system, you don't it's like it's kind of hard to strategize, and you're just shooting for the sake of shooting, and you're shooting so much and trying to reload so much your finger is going to be dead after you're playing.
And the zombies don't make noises, right? Like in the OG games where you kill them, they would make sounds to let you know they died. Do they do that in the remake?
um i I don't know.
Because I
Is
know
that weird?
the audio balance is so weird in the game, it's hard to hear certain things.
I'm
Um,
pretty sure they like grunt and moan. I don't
but
know if it's completely silent.
they
I
don't
don't
make
know.
like a death sound.
No, like the House of the Dead too, like when you kill them and they bubble away,
Ooh.
that's a very distinct sound. I can
Yeah.
definitely say the remake doesn't have like a distinct sound. I could say
Mhm.
that, but I don't remember exactly how they sound when they die, so I
Yeah.
can't answer that exactly.
One thing I did not like was the music. It's not bad, but it just sounds kind of like generic spooky haunted house music to me.
Yeah, very unforgettable.
And I don't know if it's a licensing issue or maybe they just couldn't get the original tracks, but That's a huge turnoff for me. Like I can't imagine playing House of the Dead 2, which apparently they're gonna remake. I can't imagine playing that without the original audio, the original music anyway, you know?
But yeah, the only other thing I have to say about House of the Dead is when you boot the game up for the first time, it tells you that it prefers performance mode. That
Oh.
tells me they knew damn well that the game did not perform up to
Mhm.
standard. And it doesn't matter if you're playing on performance mode or the image quality mode. It attempts to hit 60 FPS. It never ever ever does.
Mm-mm.
It the game is just a mess, dude.
Yeah,
And
I
if
hope.
two comes out, I hope it's not the
Yeah,
same
Lord.
exact guys.
Hopefully, if it is, I hope it's a case where they learn from their mistakes from this one and they can improve upon it. But like I told you before, all I really want is a remaster of House of the Dead 2. I love the voice acting. I love the music. I love the way the game looks. Just clean it up a little bit and add online if you can, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But hopefully a PC version does come around. And if it does, the modding community will take care of a lot of those issues, especially replacing things like the music.
Yeah. And honestly, I believe just simply being on more powerful hardware and having better performance will just naturally help the
Mhm.
gameplay altogether.
And the next topic, this is probably gonna be a quick one. They announced a new Ghostbusters game uh being made by illfonic, which
Talk about failing
uh,
upward.
yeah, you've called them the LJN of our generation.
How about we just keep taking all these franchises, just keep gobbling them up and shitting them out like a machine, just like LJN.
Mhm.
You make a shitty game. I'm not saying Friday the 13th is shitty. Like,
It
it's fun. It's a shitty game, but it's fun. You know what I mean?
it's got a good foundation. It just had the wrong people making it.
Absolutely. And you think they want to got their shit together with Predator Hunting Ground.
Oh my
And that
gosh.
and that was worse. That was even worse. I barely thought that game was playable, to be honest.
Yeah. So for people listening, in case you can't tell, we're not the biggest fans of illfonic. I almost called them LJN. um, I mean, I'm sure making games is hard. I've never made one, so I'm sure things won't work out the way you always plan them. But having experienced so much with Friday the 13th and really being ingrained in the community and seeing what people were saying on Reddit, and because I made tons of Friday the 13th gameplay videos on my channel that you can still watch. And there are moments that when the game works, it's a lot of fun. The problem is 8 times out of 10, the game doesn't work. And
Oh, it's
uh,
a mess.
yeah, there were so many rumors where it seemed like the code was like spaghetti code. So if you fix one thing, it broke 10 other things. And it's the only game to date. Maybe Predator might change this if I think about it. But Friday the 13th and probably Predator are the only games I've played where the updates that come out make the game worse. And then the patches that come out to fix the updates also make the game worse. It's just like everything was constantly being broken in that game. So I do not have much hope that illfonic is going to do well with Ghostbusters. And the fact that they keep getting these iconic franchises is really baffling to me. I don't get it.
Yeah, and they're all the same exact four-player co-op against one
Mhm.
one powerful person. And it's like you think they would have gotten it right by now. And dude, the shooting, there's a crappy first person shooter came out on 360. It was Black Site Area 51. It's the most generic first person shooter you ever fucking play, dude.
I think I
But
remember that.
the shooting in AVP, or not AVP, I'm sorry,
Predator.
Predator Hunting Ground reminded me of that. And
It
that
feels
game
like a
came
mobile
out.
game.
Yes, it
Yeah.
absolutely does. Yeah, the shooting does feel like you could be doing it with a touch screen. You
Mhm.
are 100% right.
Yeah. So the only positive I will say about this is that the two people who are writing the game I'm familiar with, James and Elise Williams. They're a husband and wife couple that love Ghostbusters. They were a part of Machinima back in the day. Well, James was, Elise was a part of Game Trailers. So you might remember her with the Game Trailers crew. Um, but they're both writers now and they are writing the story for this game. So if anything in the game is probably going to be decent, it's going to be the story because they know what they're doing. They love this franchise and these characters. And I got faith that they'll write a good story. As for the game working, it's not even a huge question mark, man. It's gonna have issues. It's
I,
illfonic.
I mean this in the nicest way possible. You think they're gonna implement a story? I bet it's gonna be an online only PvP.
Yeah, I didn't think of
Then
that.
that's it. Because I don't think Predator had any type of story mode.
Yeah, I should have looked into that, but based on the trailer, I was under the assumption it would have a story mode.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I guess to be fair, the Friday the 13th has like the tapes or whatever that's kind of telling a
Yeah.
story. Maybe
Mhm.
they'll do something like that.
Predator did the same thing.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. And
Sure.
they even got Arnold to come back for Predator. He didn't do Mortal Kombat 11, but he came back for Predator by illfonic.
Yeah, that's insane.
All right. So like yeah, we'll see how the game turns out, but I do not have faith. The next one is I just wanted to get your thoughts on PlayStation Plus. It was announced was it the beginning of this month or last month when they actually
Um,
revealed it?
I think it was near the end of last month.
It's been a while since I covered it, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the three pricing tiers. And I've already subscribed for both of us to PlayStation Now. I managed to get that 12-month before they deleted it. So we're good. We're set, both of us, on the
That's the
download end of
biggest
things.
positive thing I have to say about it, to be honest.
Yeah.
That deal and the fact that you were able to take advantage of it. That's my only positive.
Yeah, but if I didn't have done that, if I had not have done that, and you signed up for it on your own, what tier do you think you would have gone with?
I wouldn't bruh. I
You would have
would not
stayed
have signed
basic.
up at all.
You would have stayed on the basic plan.
Yeah.
Ah,
Because the only thing that would have got me to go would be native PS3 and
yeah,
PSP games, and it's not happening. So I'm good.
yeah. Well, we can get into that real quick because I was always under the impression that Sony just couldn't find a way to do it, and that's why they did streaming only. But it's pretty clear that they know how they can do it. It's just whether or not they want to put the money into it. And it is rumored that they may be working on native emulation. So that could potentially be coming somewhere down the line. But the biggest thing for me is I want to know what those classic games are going to be,
Yeah,
Like,
you mean like PS1 and PS2?
yeah, and PSP. Like, can I boot up the bouncer and play that? I'm not going to expect to see the
You
bouncer.
living in a fantasy world.
I
Ain't no way.
know. just put the bouncer on that service and put Tekken Tag Tournament on that service, and I'm good. Um, I would expect most of their first party titles from those consoles to be on there. I would not expect a lot of third party titles, but if I hadn't have gotten that deal for $60, I don't think I would have eventually gone to the 121. But because we got such a good deal, I figured why not? And I had to renew my Plus subscription anyway. But for me, it's going to come down to whatever those games are. And I did actually test PlayStation Now, and PS2 games and PS3 games on streaming, at least for my connection, work really well. I actually got someone that accused me of lying about my experience with it. I was watching a Spawnway video and I left a comment saying I was pleasantly surprised at how well PS3 games stream because I experienced very little to no lag. And some guy responded with, well, first of all, it's not lag, it's latency, and everyone who plays online experiences some latency, even me who, and he tried to flex on me, I guess. He's like, I have a fiber connection and even I have latency, so I don't know why you would lie about your experience. And I'm thinking to myself, exactly, why would I lie about streaming a game on PlayStation Now, you know? I booted up Third Strike and it played really well. I felt very little to no lag in my controls and I was impressed. So if those games can, stream that well, it's not going to be much of an issue for me. Of course, it's going to depend on your internet. I didn't have any issues until I got to PS4. Those games chugged and I had major delay.
Oh, I actually didn't know that you tried to stream the PS4 games. That wasn't a good experience?
No, I booted up Battle for the Grid and everything went well until the match really started against the computer. Then I could feel like a major delay in my button presses. And even the resolution dropped somewhat, but it was not playable. At least the fighting game wasn't playable on the PS4 side of things, but PS2, PS3, because they don't require that much power to begin with. I think those will be fine depending on your internet. So
Gotcha. Well, that's good to know. The only ones that, well, I downloaded a couple games from PlayStation Now, but I haven't tried streaming anything in a couple of years now. I might
mhm.
actually try that tonight and see how my experience is.
Yeah, it works surprisingly well for me. Was there anything else you wanted to add with the PlayStation Plus thing and PS Now?
No, I mean, other than who's the main, like the Sony guy, like the head guy, the Phil Spencer of Sony. I can't think of his name.
Jim Ryan.
Yeah, he had came out. He straight up said that the big first party games weren't coming to that service. He said
Yeah,
that they wouldn't see like a return on it, right? So that wouldn't be a
yeah.
thing.
Okay, I mean, it makes sense. If you're Sony, you're making a lot of money right now, so why take money out of your own fist, I guess would be the best way to put it. Because that comes down to like the dichotomy is not the word, motives behind each company. Sony very much is like, we want you to buy our consoles, we want you to buy our games separately. And Microsoft is very much like Game Pass. Buy Game Pass. We don't care if you buy it on Series X, S, PC, Xbox One. That's their new platform is Game Pass. So I'm not surprised that Sony first party titles won't be there day one, but I think we could get to a point where maybe like 4, 6 months down the line, maybe they'll show up. So that's always a possibility too.
When you think about it, when it comes to first party games, I think it's kind of fair to say, um, when you're comparing these first party games from Sony to Microsoft, what first party games have Microsoft released themselves on Game Pass day one that's not Halo?
Gears of War.
That was out before Game Pass was a thing.
Oh, I guess nothing. Because the thing is
There's
like,
got to there. See, it's an honest question because
yeah,
when you take that into account and then you think of like the first party Sony games like this Horizon and God of War and Last of Us, I mean, like you can't. I think it's
Microsoft,
fair. It's not fair to expect those games to be on that subscription in the first place. I think that's a pretty unrealistic expectation, is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
it's just those games are so high quality and expensive to make already. Eh, Sony's first party lineup is ridiculous. It has been for years, and Microsoft just does not have anything to compete. And when I see people be like, Game Pass is such a good deal, I'm like, if you're into what they're offering, but I don't give two shits about what Microsoft has on Game Pass, man. So that's why I went with PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus, which is coming because I'm interested in playing my PlayStation. I turn my PlayStation on multiple times a week. I don't really care what Microsoft is doing.
Yeah, man. I don't think I really don't think Game Pass has much to offer in terms of like first party games. I don't
Mm-mm,
They really don't offer much at all. But
no.
yeah.
Well, I mean they're doing something right though, because they have what, 25 million subscribers to Game Pass.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not a good service. They offer a ton of games.
Yeah,
But
if you're
when it comes
interested in what they have, then yeah, it's a good deal.
yeah, but again, when it comes to first party, I mean there's nothing.
Mm-mm. But I
There
also
should be
do,
like big games here that are like advertised, like there should be a big ass like Halo banner somewhere in here and it's
yeah, and
or a Forza and
all those studios that Microsoft bought and they don't really have anything to show for it yet. Trek to Yomi, that looks interesting. Um,
yeah, I hope
but
it's good.
but at the same time, Microsoft kind of, I think we might have brought this up before. They took the easy way out kind of by buying all of these already pre-established companies that have dozens of IPs that are already popular. It's like they put a cheat code in and just took a shortcut to get these IPs, but they don't really have anything that can stand to stand up to a Ghost of Tsushima or Horizon or God of War. The list goes on, really.
I
And
agree.
all of those Sony games, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War 2018, and I believe Last of Us. I think they all sold over 20 million copies, right?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is insane to think about. A game selling 20 million copies. Like I know Elden Ring just sold 12 million copies, which is huge for FromSoft, but for one singular title to sell 20 million copies, that's bananas to me. So our last topic, one of the reasons why you had KI in the background is because I didn't realize how
The game I
controversial.
just closed.
Yeah. Free to play for fighting games is our last topic. I did not realize how controversial of a topic that was until Maximilian Dude started talking about it. And he got a lot of dislikes on some of his videos, and people are coming out of the woodworks. And I'm very much in the middle here. I see why free to play video games or fighting games could work. But both of us having grown up playing fighting games, we know how these companies can really nickel and dime you. But I really want to get your perspective first on do you think free to play for fighting games could work? And will it work if it does actually happen?
I think it can work, and Killer Instinct is 100% proof that it can work. The fact that
Mm-hmm.
it was free and on a Friday evening, you can search for a ranked match in a lobby and find something instantly, which is still really cool. And when the game launched, it launched as an Xbox One like launch title, and and it was free. And I believe you could only play Jago and Saber Wolf when it first came out.
Yeah.
And you could get all the characters for $20 if you wanted to. But the thing that was pretty special was you could like piecemeal. You could buy the characters that you wanted separately
Mm-hmm.
for just a couple dollars. And that's how I started playing Killer Instinct. I was just buying characters that I wanted rather than buying the full package. And eventually I was able to get the whole package. But yeah, I mean, KI is definitely proof that it can work if you're smart about it and you respect the player. It can definitely work.
Yeah, because everything is reasonably priced for KI, right?
Yeah, like I
For the
said,
most part.
yeah, it's on Game Pass. Or if you don't have Game Pass, you can just buy the whole collection for $20, and that gives you like over 20 characters, all the stages. It gives you the whole game. Or if you just play it for free, they do like the character rotation. I don't know what character is on rotation right now, but yeah, KI is still free to play if you wanted to jump into it right now, which is awesome.
Because I do see the benefit of like if you play a fighting game and you only play like maybe one or two people, if a game were free to play and all of the characters were free, like a core fighters group, and if you wanted to buy, I don't know, skins, costumes, then that's what you would pay for. But I can't help but feel like companies would take advantage of that so fast because let's use Capcom for example. They won't do it, but let's just use them as an example for Street Fighter 6. Let's say Street Fighter 6 is free to play, but what's to stop them from being like, "Oh, you want to play as, you know, I don't know, Evil Ryu. That's going to be 14.99 to buy him or 19.99 to buy him because they will do that.
I appreciate that you brought up Capcom because because a really good example of Capcom is what they do is you know how I mentioned with Killer Instinct you can piecemeal and buy these characters separately.
Mhm.
Fucking Street Fighter 5 is the only fighting game. I'm talking Guilty Gear, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct. That's all I can think of right now. Or Smash Brothers. You can buy the characters separately, but on Street Fighter 5, they either want you to grind, which is that's not even reasonable. You have to play thousands of matches to unlock these characters if you want to do that, or you have to buy the whole character pack, which is at a minimum $10. You can't buy the characters separately. And Street
Mhm.
Fighter is the only damn game that's like that.
Jesus. Because like the one thing that is kind of in support of free to play is that fighting games are already expensive, right? It's $60 for the game. You brought up the fact that Street Fighter 5 skins are super expensive. It's like what, $200 just to get all of Chun-Li's costumes.
Yeah, it's not reasonable, man.
And there's people out there that have literally spent thousands of dollars on Street Fighter 5, which is astonishing to me. But wouldn't you say that assuming companies didn't, well, even if, okay, like I said, it's already expensive to play fighting games as is. Wouldn't it then be cheaper to be free to play, even if companies are charging a lot of money for skins and characters? Because if I'm playing Street Fighter 6 and the only person I'm using is Ken, I I buy Ken from anywhere from what, 10 to 15 bucks, let's say. And then I buy his costumes. I'm technically still under the $60 mark, right?
Yeah, I suppose. But just the idea of $15 for
Yeah.
a character is that makes my brain melt.
But
And
it's
that's the type of thing that Capcom would pull. You wouldn't just be able to get the character,
mm,
that they will charge that $15, but that $15 would include a costume and an alternate color and a different stage. They will make you buy all that bullshit just to give you the excuse, like, oh, we can't sell you this character for $5. It has to be $15, but
mm,
you get all this extra stuff included. If Capcom were to do that, that is exactly, I believe, how they would do it.
yeah, because
Expensive ass characters.
it's going to be expensive either way, but I think the one optimistic thing is that it would be cheaper to do free to play. Again, this is all dependent upon whether or not companies would be reasonable about their pricing. I brought up to you Dissidia NT, which I think is fairly reasonable. It started off as a $60 game and then went free to play with like weekly rotations for characters. If you wanted to buy a character add-on, it was $5.99. You know, so if you wanted Cloud or Locke, you'd pay $5.99. You get the character, you get 3 costumes, a weapon skin, and then chat messages, which I felt like that was reasonably priced, you know.
Wait, how
And then
many? Wait, just came with that one character?
it's the one character for $5.99, 3 outfits, a weapon skin, and then chat messages that you can use
So,
in game.
so literally what I just described with what Capcom would do with their characters, but they would charge like $15, like you had
Yes,
mentioned. Yeah,
but
the
the only
exact same
thing,
thing.
but the only thing you're buying in Dissidia are the characters or weapon skins or character skins. They're not charging you for stages, um, or music or anything like that. Music and other costumes, if you really wanted to, you can just play the game, earn in-game gil, and then go to the in-game store and buy it with your gil. So you're not forced to purchase the stuff on the outside if you don't want to. You can buy it in-game. But I felt like their stuff was reasonably priced for the most part, except for some of their skins, like the Safer Sephiroth skin, $12.99.
For just a skin.
For just that one character. He does come with 3 skins and a weapon skin and the chat messages, but $12.99 for that. And if you want the combo pack of Cloud and Squall's Kingdom Hearts skins, that's 20 bucks. So they can get expensive, you know, but I feel like some of it, the base stuff that you would want to start off with, is pretty reasonable for the most part at $5.99. Some characters being, you know, like $7 for DLC characters.
Yeah, I can't imagine. There's not a world that I exist in that I will pay over $10 for a single character. I have never done that, and I never ever will. Even the most expensive characters that I paid for were Mortal Kombat characters, and they were $6.99. Never paid anything above that. I don't think that's reasonable.
Because I bought 3 characters. I ended up buying Tifa, Yuna, and Arden when they came out. So that's 21. So in total, I spent 60 on the game and then the 21 plus the characters, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. Like the idea of just being like, hey, this fighting game is free. I want to try it out. Being able to do that. If I like it, you know what? I might buy some characters. You know, I can see the reasoning why people would think this is great, but we're so cynical, I guess, that we're expecting the worst.
That's not our fault. They made us that way.
Yeah.
They've given us reasons. They've given us every reason to think that way. going all the
But
way back to Cross Tekken.
oh my
In
gosh,
ter-
with those, yeah.
in terms of fighting games, they still haven't. And in terms of fighting games in Capcom, since Cross Tekken, they still haven't gotten back on track. Every
Mm-mm.
single fighting game since then have had issues, major issues.
And it's funny because Capcom is doing really well in every other division. It's just their fighting game division where they can't seem to get their stuff together.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, man. I don't know what to
So,
say. I don't if it's ever a free fighting game or free to play fighting game, I just hope to God it's not Capcom doing it.
yeah, I don't think they will. I don't think Capcom will do it. I don't think Bandai Namco will do it because they tried it already with Tekken Revolution. Um, like most people are saying, it's either going to come down to that League of Legends fighter or potentially whatever Sega does next with Virtua Fighter. Because
I
based
yeah,
on Virtua Fighter apparently did really well according to that fighting game roundtable, which they didn't release the actual number, but somewhere around 8 million downloads, which how many of those downloads were when it was, technically free and how many were once they started charging for it, right? You know,
yeah. I bet a majority of it was because it was free.
but Virtual Fighter seemed to do well. DOA 5 did well. Oh, Jesus, don't even get me started on the pricing for DOA 6's DLC. Do you know how expensive those are?
Probably over $1,000 at this point.
Well, I mean, like just guess at how much one pack costs. One pack of costumes.
Oh, probably a dub, $20.
Anywhere from 80 to $100
My God.
for costumes, bikini costumes for all the waifus in the game. And there are people that buy it because you got to have all the costumes, right? But it's that the DLC for DOA 6 is egregious. I bought the game deluxe edition on sale for $14.99. I'm getting my money's out of it. My
Fourteen
money's worth.
ninety nine is a good price.
Yeah. But I don't know, man. We're gonna have to wait and see what they do with Virtual Fighter. Does that come back with part 6? What is that League of Legends fighter gonna do? Because that is free to play, right? They did confirm that.
Project L. I
Yeah,
don't I don't know if they confirmed that to be free
it's
to play.
just
If they
it's just
did,
speculating.
oh okay.
I think it's
Yeah, I feel
speculation.
like I think Project L is gonna be really important. I think that
Hmm.
kind of needs to be free to play because they're gonna be having so many League of Legends players trying to play that shit.
Yeah,
So I think yeah, Project L is gonna be a really important game to like keep an eye on and see how it does. I hope it goes free to play. I hope it is free to play.
yeah. So that's going to determine what other companies are going to do. Japanese companies, especially, because they do not want to break away from their business structure and model at all.
Yeah. It's funny we was talking about Street Fighter. It's dude, I don't know if you noticed, but other than people quitting on Killer Instinct, there hasn't been any lag spikes. There hasn't been any slowdown.
Mm-mm.
The game is just functioning. Before we started this podcast, I attempted to play a couple matches of Street Fighter 5 and they were a goddamn mess. And I just shook my head and I looked at my computer and I looked down at my calendar and I'm like, dude, it's 2022 and I still can't play Street Fighter 5 online and have it be functional. And these are the guys we're relying on to make a free to play fighting game. I hope not. We need to
Yeah.
put our eggs in a different basket.
It's kind of funny you bring that up too, because whenever a fighting game gets announced and it's mentioned that it's going to have rollback netcode, we all get excited. We shouldn't be getting excited. That should be a given, that should be something we're used to. But uh,
Yeah, and
hopefully down the line.
thankfully it seems we've gotten to a point where developers know that and all these new fighting games have rollback. Again, I hate bringing up Street Fighter 5, but it's so fucking popular. It's hard not to mention it because that's the game people play, and
Hmm.
that's like in terms of online and with all the big fighting games taking them into account, it's still the worst experience to have online. And I don't know. I
Yeah,
think
there's
if
go ahead.
anything, that WB fighting game
Yeah,
that hopefully that is free to play and hopefully
multiverses.
Yeah, hopefully that's even real because we haven't actually heard any official news about that game in a long time.
Yeah, there was just the one trailer they came out with letting people know what the game was about and that it would have rollback netcode, so that's
Right.
nice. But I think it will be free to play because they show just like the core basic characters. And I think it did get leaked that they would be selling characters later on, with the first being everyone's favorite fighting game character, LeBron James.
Wonderful. So that, yeah, I guess that'll be another game to keep an eye on. And well, we already know that, with Mortal Kombat 11, that in terms of netcode, they know what the hell they're doing in those
Mhm.
regards. So I think that'll be another important one to keep an eye on in terms of pricing and what they do with their pricing and like their character bundles. I think that'll be another important thing to keep an eye on in the future.
Yeah. And you can argue just real quick, a game like Mortal Kombat, you can justify its price because it's got a really great story and offline stuff. If it were just fighting only, there was no story, I think justifying 60, $70 plus on that game would be a bit much. But NetherRealm consistently puts out really great campaigns for their fighting games.
Yeah, I paid full 60 for Mortal Kombat. I That's a full package game. You get so much with that. You don't have to buy characters in that to have the full experience. And yeah, same with Injustice 2. But Injustice 2, they had I think they had too many DLC characters. I think that was
Yeah.
the problem that game had. There was just too many.
Well, who was the last DLC pack? I know was it the Turtles with like the Atom and Enchantress? Were they the last ones or no?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the last one. I think they had eight DLC characters altogether. I think that had to be like the most at the time, other
Mhm.
than any other fighting game, because Street Fighter Five didn't have that many at the point Injustice 2 came out. Street Fighter Five didn't even have that many characters.
Yeah, but I think what you just make a free to play game and just have cool shit in it, man. Like people love customizing their characters. They love not grinding for stuff like you somehow have to do an MK sometimes, but like letting me play for free, letting me pick my character and letting me, pay maybe to customize stuff if I want to. I think that's what people just want, you know. You look at Injustice 2, look at how much is unlockable in
Bruh.
that game.
Yeah, Injustice 2, bruh. I think I was on that not too long ago, taking some screenshots because the customization is so good. Yeah, I was in there
Supergirl.
messing with Supergirl. Dude, you can just do whatever you want. It's fucking awesome. I
Yeah.
agree.
So like, okay, let's say Mortal Kombat went free to play. Would you be okay with Mortal Kombat going free to play and then you just buy customization stuff and make the character how you want without having to grind for it? Would you be up for that?
It's scary.
Mm.
It's definitely scary. I would I would give it a try because
Mhm.
Mortal Kombat is so fucking awesome, and they've done so good already that I think they deserve a chance. Capcom don't deserve shit. But if NRS wanted to do something like that, I would give them a chance. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Capcom needs to show that they can do right with Street Fighter 6. And I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by that visual change with the art style being more semi-realistic instead of cartoony. So I'm assuming we'll see more from Street Fighter 6 around E3 time. So I don't know. Do you have any closing thoughts on free to play as a whole for fighting games?
Um, yeah, I guess to conclude it, I think it's possible. It just depends on who does it. I don't want Capcom anywhere near that sort of thing. But if it's that WB Multiverses game or NRS, uh, I believe that they have the ability to do it. And hopefully Project L does it really good too. I have confidence. I have confidence in Riot for sure.
Yeah, that'll be the one to watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty similar to you. I think it can work. It's just going to come down to pricing. Don't get crazy with the pricing. Respect your consumers, your fans, and just give people cool stuff to do. Don't nickel and dime like, oh, buy this character, buy this stage, buy this soundtrack, buy these skins. Let people customize stuff. Keep it fun. But I'd say overall, that's pretty much that topic. And that's pretty much the end of the podcast. We made it to the end. I think we're like at an hour.
Yep, looks
So,
like we just reached over an hour, probably. Yeah.
So do you have any closing thoughts overall about anything we talked about? Is there anything you're looking forward to or anything that you're playing currently?
Yeah, right now I'm playing Dragon Quest 11 and Lego Star Wars. Both of them have been very fun and time consuming, which is what I needed. Um, House of the Dead remake sucks ass. Sifu was awesome. Even if you have to play that shit on easy mode, I definitely think it's
That's
worth
going
the
to be
play.
me. It's going to be me eventually.
And yeah, that's all I can think of.
Yeah, that's the podcast. I'm Curious Corduroy. That was ImpulseParadox. You want to throw out your Twitter and YouTube or no?
No, I'm not even on them anymore, really.
I don't blame you. But anyway,
well, I'm pretty much on like, Xbox and PlayStation. I'm ImpulseParadox on both of those. You can find me on all the consoles.
You can challenge him in KI.
You sure can. You can beat my ass.
After this, we're going to play some Dissidia NT because you made a promise that we were going to play Dissidia NT, right?
That must have been a dream that I wasn't a part of.
No, we're going to do some Tsushima. So thank you guys for listening. That's the podcast. I'm Curious Corduroy. I sign off. Do you want to sign off with anything? I always say be excellent to one another.
Yeah, I'll go with that. I second that.
All right, everyone, just be excellent to one another, and we'll see you guys in the next video.
See ya.